Hello and welcome to Getting Started with After Effects. Now, the interesting thing about After Effects, unlike Animate is something where you take resources and you put them all together and you basically creating movies, and there can be some things where you import movies and things along those lines. However, After Effects are basically you've got movies that you've already created and you're adding things to them after they are created. Now, ideally, what you could do is you could create something in Animate and then use the further tools of After Effects to modify them. In my mind, Animate is more using user-created graphics and things along those lines to create a scene, whereas After Effects is you've created a video somewhere and you're adding more information to it. So what you should do is you should be able to see where it says New Project. Now, on my version, my screen says New Project here. Yours might be, it might have a Home, Sync Settings, New Project, and Open Project. So you should see the New Project item. So we want to do New Project. Once again, these two menu items are up here at the top. We're going to choose New Project. Did I click that? We're going to choose New Project. And then this screen loads. Once the screen loads, this should be your default screen. If it is not your default screen, you can push the Control, Alt, and Shift button to restore the default preferences settings, meaning this is the way it appears. When we were dealing with Animate, remember you would do window settings. You can probably do that through After Effects as well. But this is the way our screens look the same. If for some reason as you're going through, this happened in Animate a few times, if your screen ever looks different for whatever reason, you accidentally close the menu, you can't get back, or it deviates for one way or another, you can always do Window, Workspace, and then choose a default. Because right now I'm choosing default, and there's another of options here you can choose from, default. So once again, if you have some menus closed or whatever, Window, Workspace, default. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to import some resources. So I'm going to do File, and I'm going to choose Import, and I'm going to choose multiple files, right? And in my particular case, I'm going to navigate to my desktop, Lesson 1, right? And I am going to do my Assets folder, and I'm going to import Movement, Swimming. So I'm going to do Movement, have my control button, Swimming, and I'm just going to go ahead and import my title as well. All right, so I'm going to import all those so I have them all in my file. There we go. And then now I chose multiple, but I did multiple at the same time. So I'm going to go ahead and push Done. And now I have my items here that I have imported. Now I got a little overzealous with the title. Now, all I did was I imported the title, and I imported it the wrong way. So I just went up, clicked on where it said title, and then I deleted it. The way you're supposed to import it, to make sure, in case Mr. Sebastian gets a little excited, you're supposed to do the file, and we're going to import, right? We're going to import our file, okay? And then we're going to choose title, but for our import options, we're supposed to import as composition, right? Composition, okay? So once we import it as a composition, because it's going to be treated differently inside the program itself, it brings up a composition dialog box. We want to choose editable layer styles. Editable layer styles. Once we do that, we push OK, and then what's going to happen is it's going to bring as an item that we can add layers to. So I'm going to bring it OK. You'll notice it imports slightly differently than it did before. That's amazing. Now, unlike animation, what you should be aware of is that these files, when they're imported, create a link to where those source files are. Okay, and the reason it does that link and the reason it creates that link is so that way your actual file isn't as large. Because in Animate, things would compress, they would make it a little bit larger, but they weren't as large of files, so it was easier to work with. Here, these are actually links to where that item is located, for instance, on my desktop. So if you go to turn it in, and I will understand that when you turn it in, because I have to make sure that there's a link to the location so I can see the file itself. But a lot of times when you turn it in, you'll be turning it in as the movie. But understand, if you move the location of those files, it's going to have missing media links, and you have to reestablish the link when you go forward. Okay, once we're ready to go, the next thing we're going to do is we're in the project panel, which is right here. We're going to shift click to select the movement. So here's the movement, the swimming, and the title assets. So we have all three of those selected. And we're going to drag those to the timeline panel. This is the timeline panel. Many of you will recognize the timeline right here. So with all three of these selected, I'm going to left click and hold. You'll notice I have the little blue ghost there, little outline, and I drop it here. At that point, now After Effects bases the dimensions of the new composition on a selected footage. In this example, because once again, it's like we were dealing with an animate, you had pre-generated resources. In this example, our pre-generated resource are these three items that all have the same length, which is 2 minutes. So if I choose movement, it is 2 minutes. If I choose title, it is 2 minutes. So it really doesn't matter which one we choose, but we're going to choose the swimming dog. We're going to choose a swimming dog, make sure, yep. And this is a single composition, because what it's doing is it's taking all these particular resources and is putting them into the beginning of a movie, and then we can modify it from there. So we're going to push OK. And you'll notice it actually creates our item where we have movement, our swimming, and then the title itself. And we have our composition down here, right? And so now we can begin to modify it. Now, much like when we were working with Animate, you have layers. Now, you'll notice you have a movement layer, a swimming layer, and then a title. Right now, I've selected, there's title, and you can see right here where it can't actually be seen. I simply left-clicked on title, and then I moved it upward. So, for instance, originally it was, let me grab it here. Oh, come on now. So I click on here, and I can actually drag it down. Now it's below all the items. I just left-click on the item itself, I move it up, so now it's on top. So now the title is here, and then we have movement, and then we have swimming. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to modify the title layer. In order to modify the title layer, I'm going to have to click on some things to open up. So if I actually take a look at title, right, I hit my down drop arrow, there it is. Then I'm going to hit my transform layer, and there's my items are. So I've got anchor point, position, scale, rotation, and opacity. So I can modify what actually occurs and the different qualities of this particular layer that I've selected. If you look, movement has the same thing as the swimming, but the way we'll transform will probably be slightly different based off what resource that is. If I want to see only one of the properties, for instance, when it's open, I can, in my case, I can push P for position, and it should, if I push P, it should then only show the position. If I want to hide that again, I can push P, and it'll actually hide that as well. Working with the position, I've changed the criteria to 265, and 635, 635, or you can simply grab it and then move the title down here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to mess with or modify the actual swimming dog. So we want to choose the swimming dog.mp4, which is this bad boy right here. Okay, the swimming dog.mp4. And then we want to choose the effects. We want to choose the effects and presets, which is located all the way on this side right here. I want to click on it. It then brings up a dialog box, and we want to open the contrast. So we click here in the search bar, and we type in contrast, right? So we get our contrast options, and we want to, there's our auto contrast. And we want to take our auto contrast, which is some item. It's one of the options that we can bring over and apply to the swing MP4. And we want to drag this down to, we left click and hold, we drag it down to the swimming MP4. So we're going to apply it here. And now you'll notice that we have one more effect added here that we can modify appropriately. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the auto contrast. Now you'll note once again that after I grabbed auto contrast and I moved it down here to the swimming, effects then appeared as an option, right? So here's effects, which wasn't there before. I open up effects and then I should see auto contrast. In auto contrast I should see a section called blend with original. Blend with original. Then when you choose blend with original, go ahead and put in 20%. So it's going to take the swimming dog and it's going to try to blend that with the original, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to take assets and have them all work together. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an effect called CC Light Sweep. So what I did was, after I finished changing this to 20%, I then went ahead and I went up here, I typed CC Light, right, and then CC Light Sweep appeared. I'm going to go ahead and grab the CC Light Sweep and I'm going to bring it down to the swimming dog again. Once I bring that down to the swimming dog, in addition to the auto contrast, you should also see a CC Light Sweep, which just appeared right there. So unlike Animate, when you have the different effects already added to it, you can add the effects that you want to the actual resource as you go through. Okay, after I've added the CC Light Sweep, which is basically just adding a light glare to our picture, what I want to do is I want to do for the direction, I want to choose 37 degrees, and that modifies it so it slashes in this particular direction. So I choose 37 degrees. I made that 37. From the shape menu, I want to choose smooth, right? So we had sharp beginning, which is a sharp line here. I can also choose smooth, which is going to spread it out so it's more smooth, and then you have linear, which is even larger. So we're going to choose smooth, right? And then from the width, we type 68. So width here is to widen the beam so it's spread out over more. And then for the sweep intensity, we're going to change our value to 20. So our sweep intensity, let's see, we want to change our sweep intensity to 20. Right? Now if we choose 100 as an example, so you kind of see the modifications there, it's very, very intense. You can definitely tell there's light there. And that might be good if you were, I don't know, doing some sort of star effect. But in our case, we're doing the sweep intensity at 20, so it is kind of a light, blurred, all those items combined together make for a very interesting effect. You know, you can change the color of the light if you want to, and there's many different modifications. But once again, this particular light sweep is added from the effects and presets that wasn't there to start with. We've added that to our image. At this point in time, we're going to prepare the text composition. If you're preparing the text composition, you might notice a number of different items up here. If you have a number of different items such as FX or whatever the case may be, what you want to do is you want to get back to where you can see these items, and then you want to double click on title. When you double click on title, it's going to load it in its own composition window here, so we can choose to modify. Now once we have this up as its individual layer there, or excuse me, the individual project, what we want to do is we want to choose, we want to click on the title layer, right? So I have my title layer, and then I want to choose layer, create, convert to editable text. So in yours it'll be layer, create, convert to editable text. In mine it is just layer and convert to editable text. But that's you have one extra step, it looks like, the create section. So convert to editable text. And unable to, oh, boo. All right. Let's see what we're up. There we go. Now I have now converted to editable text. Excellent. And now I can modify it from here. All right, so I've gone ahead and I clicked on title here, if you haven't already. You'll notice you have the selectable items. Now, as I take my mouse pointer over it, it actually turns into the I-beam, is what I call it. It allows me to select the text that was there. I simply select the text that was there. It should highlight. And then you change it from title here to on the move. You'll notice you've now changed it to on the move. We want to, alrighty. With the text selected, now I want to do here, and I want to change the size to 100, right? And then I want to change the tracking, which is this value right here, to -50. All right, so we'll continue with part 2 of our video shortly.